Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate that, Dr. Savoy. Appreciate the response. Appreciate you being here. My name is Troy Wayman. I'm the president and CEO of One Acadiana. And for those of you that are not familiar with One Acadiana, number one, shame on you. Number two, I'll tell you that we are the regional economic development organization for the 9 parishes of Acadiana, but we also serve the role as the Chamber of Commerce for Lafayette. We were formed in 2015 out of the Greater Lafayette Chamber of Commerce, but we now serve an even bigger purpose in making sure that the economy is thriving across all 9 parishes in Acadiana. CivicCon Acadiana is something that was born out of an event we did that spawned a programming called Vibrant Acadiana. It's all about making communities more vibrant, making our community a place that people want to live, work, and play. We want to keep the talent that we have here. Dr. Savoy and Dr. June and others, they run what I like to call talent factories. I think that's what Quint Studer called it. Talent factories, and we want to make sure we keep that talent here. And having a safe and vibrant community is a big part of that. Tonight, we're honored to host 2 very respected leaders in our community, Mayor President Monique Boulay and Lafayette's recently appointed Police Chief, Paul Truard, for a timely conversation on the topic that I mentioned earlier, and that's public safety. Before we hear from our speakers, I'd like to express thanks to our partners and sponsors who make tonight possible. First, a special thank you to the supporting partner, the Acadiana Center for the Arts. We couldn't do this without this magnificent venue, and we're so fortunate to have this in our community right in the middle of our downtown. So thank you to the Acadiana Center for the Arts for graciously and consistently hosting our CivicCon events in this beautiful space. And also thank you to the Acadiana Advocate, our official media partner for CivicCon Acadiana. They've been with us since the beginning, and they've done a fantastic job helping us promote it and helping us get the word out about our events. We're also deeply grateful for tonight's presenting sponsor, Custom Tower. Custom Tower serves both local and national markets with the communications infrastructure industry, offering services from design and manufacturing to tower installation. Most notably, they play a vital role in enhancing community safety through the development of tower networks that support emergency communication systems, a critical foundation for fast response times and coordinated public safety efforts. Here to tell us a little more about the company, please join me in welcoming to the stage their president, Wiley Baxter.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Wayman. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. We thank our notable speakers for being here tonight. As Mr. Wayman said, we manufacture, install, and maintain towers across the United States, locally here in Louisiana, and also just everywhere all throughout. We produce them in Scott. We've been doing that since 2005. We manufacture all the steel. We send it out to Baton Rouge. It comes back, and we ultimately ship it out to wherever it may go. We focus on public safety infrastructure. So all your police, fire, search and rescue, emergency responders that need to have a radio on them, those radios are talking back to a tower. Those towers are talking back to dispatch. All of that is intermingled together and produce a very reliable system for these guys to operate on every day, protecting the communities. So we work with all kinds of national, state, and local police departments, sheriff departments, and fire departments. So once again, we thank you guys for allowing us to be here. Thank you, Mr. Wayman, and I'll turn it back over to him.
I think that's the first time I've been called Mr. Wayman 3 times in one evening, so I appreciate that. My kids don't show me that kind of respect. I appreciate that, Wiley. Thank you, Wiley, and thank you again, Custom Tower, for the generous support of tonight's event. We couldn't have done it without you. We have an engaging and insightful discussion ahead as Chief Truard and Mayor President Boulay share their strategies for improving public safety, strengthening trust in our communities, and the importance of community involvement in creating a safer Lafayette. I'd like to take a moment to tell you a little more about Chief Truard, who was appointed from interim to chief on the Lafayette Police Department in February of this year. He brings 27 years of law enforcement experience to the role, having served in a wide range of leadership positions within LPD, including most recently as assistant to the chief. He also brings a strong military background as a staff sergeant in the Louisiana National Guard and holds numerous law enforcement certifications. His academic credentials are equally impressive, a master's degree from Columbia Southern University, a bachelor's from UL Lafayette, and an undergraduate certificate in criminal justice from the University of Virginia. He is also a graduate of the FBI National Academy. As chief, he is committed to leading a highly trained, accountable, and community-oriented police force focused on keeping Lafayette safe while building trust and collaboration with the public. Tonight's conversation will be moderated by Al Patin, who is CEO of Ochsner Lafayette General Medical Center, and more importantly to us, he is chairman of One Acadiana's board of directors. Al was eager to be a part of tonight's program, and that's a bit of an understatement. And in preparing for this role, he wanted a firsthand glimpse into the daily responsibilities of the police chief, as well as a deeper understanding of how leadership, strategy, and public service intersect when it comes to keeping our city safe. To kick off tonight's conversation, we'd like you to take you along for a behind-the-scenes look with Al and Chief Truard as they visit Precinct 4, one of the 5 precincts within Lafayette's police department. During their visit, they'll dive into how the LPD is structured, how residents can better connect with and utilize their local precincts, and what goes into preparing officers to serve our community each day. It's a chance to see things from the inside. So before we start the video, I will say that I did thank Chief Truard for not giving Al a gun. That was probably the most important part of this video. We greatly appreciate that. So without further ado, please enjoy.
Tell us where we're headed.
We're headed down to our 4th precinct. It houses our precinct lieutenant, our community engagement, our training unit, and our defensive tactical facility. I have a couple new officers that are finishing up our training program. We have a very long training program. We started off with 8. I'm ending up with 3. And
Okay.
most of them self-drop because they just realize that this isn't what's for them. They're not able to go into a situation and handle it. They're not able to calm people down, and I want only the best on the road. So if I have to sacrifice 5 people, then that's exactly what we're going to do.
Okay. Well, who's your boss?
Mayor
Is she?
Boulay and CAO Rachel Gatto.
So I heard Mayor is pretty tough.
I'd say she's tough. I'd say she's fair. She has high expectations for her staff.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. Have you had your evaluation yet?
I have not.
When is that
Wasn't
due?
yet. Well, now that I've been named permanent chief, they have a year to decide whether or not they want to allow me to retain this position.
Okay.
So a year from the day that she signed the paperwork appointing me as permanent chief.
Okay. Boss's Day is October 16th.
Thank you. I won't
That's a good reminder. That's a good reminder. Are we going to stop for donuts on the way?
I'm not stopping for donuts.
No, you eat donuts?
I do not.
No? You get donuts for your team?
No, I'll go
No?
get some kolaches.
Kolaches. All right. So tell us about precincts. You have 5 of them. What's different about them?
So generally, we had captains running the precincts, and I had lieutenants running the shifts. And what I wanted to do is have a more senior person running the patrol shifts. So I switched them out. I put the captains running a whole shift, so you have a captain 24/7 running the city. Never have to worry about seniority.
Okay.
But what the captains were doing was community relations, and it was so successful, I didn't want to get rid of that. So I put out precinct lieutenants. They're called community engagement lieutenants. So your lieutenant is your interface.
Okay.
So if you're having some issues anywhere in the city in reference to car burglaries, house burglaries, trash in somebody's yard, an abandoned vehicle, you can go straight to that precinct lieutenant who will directly interface with all facets of the police department to help solve your problem.
So they're somewhat local. They're a familiar face in that
They're a familiar
particular
face.
precinct.
They go to the coterie meetings. They go to all of the neighborhood meetings. We put them out everywhere. I tell them that if somebody calls you, I expect you to go see them.
This is who we wanted to meet.
This is Al.
Lieutenant George, it's nice to meet you. Al Patin. So this is your neighborhood.
Yes.
This is your space.
This is my neighborhood.
What's the most common calls you get during the day?
Common calls are people that's out on property that they don't belong on.
Okay.
Shopliftings, of course. And then we do a lot of traffic crashes.
Okay.
Deaths is
Right here in this 4 corner here?
all over this precinct.
All over.
This precinct is busy.
So how did you break out precincts? You have 5 of them.
Population.
It's strictly population.
Yeah, we thought for a while to do them by boundaries for the council districts, but the council districts, some of them are spread out all throughout town, so I can't keep my guys centered in one area. like the Councilman Boudreaux's, it goes from north all the way down to Merchants Boulevard on the south, so I couldn't keep my guys concentrated.
Okay.
So we went and did a population check about, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago and kind of broke it down into pieces. And these were previously zones. We just came in and carved out precincts out of it. And each
Okay.
officer within that precinct works a specific zone.
Tell me sizes, numbers of people. So numbers of officers. Do you base them on precinct or you just full department?
So full department, we are allocated 310. I'm funded at 301.
301.
So and
How many do you have?
right now I stay between 285 and 289, depending on who's here and who's not.
Okay.
So between 15 and 19 openings. My goal, of course, is to
Fill it up.
Fill it up. Fill all of it. Okay.
Tell us what goes on here, how many people rotate through here, and why is this unique?
Well, it's a training division. It's strictly to do training stuff. We keep our new recruits out here away from the station. We can come host classes out here. It's close to the thruway. We have a big gym next door. We have a firearm simulator next door. It kind of gets them away from the PD and out of that limelight to relax and be able to do all their training.
Can I
we
put a
have-
vest on?
Sure. So we have 3 training sites. You have the firearms facility that has a training site. You have the PD that has a training site, the defensive tactics.
They're heavy.
Yes.
Wow. Probably 12 pounds?
And you'll see here below it, all that also goes on,
Okay. I'm not gonna put the.
along with the radio and all their other equipment.
This is important.
Correct. And you notice what's right there? Camera,
Body camera.
body camera. Somebody
Okay.
pulls out a taser, it activates. I activate my taser, your body camera activates. He activates his body camera, his lights on his car, everything activates.
Okay.
So the first thing we do when somebody says, hey, your officer did, I'm like, stop, tell me a time and date.
There
And we
you
go
go.
look right at it. 'Cause
Every
you're-
officer has this.
Every single officer.
Okay.
Anybody wearing a uniform has it. So you wanna know how to best train your people? Scenario
Put them
based.
in a position.
When we get them out of the academy, they do another 8 to 9 week initial phase training, and one day of that week, every week, is nothing but live scenarios, live role player scenarios. When your weapons come out, they actually fire with air. It feels like you're shooting a weapon. Your taser will work, your pepper spray will work. We have everything on here, and we can start training our people in scenario-based training.
So this is onboarding, maybe initial onboarding of new officers. Do you do it annually?
Yeah, we sure do.
Okay.
Officers love to come in here and
Okay.
try it, and we can change the scenario so it's not the same scenario each and every time. And yes, the mayor, president, and the CAO have both been in here using it.
How'd she do?
The mayor did well. CAO, she's dangerous.
Really?
Good
Really?
grief, yes.
What are you most proud of so far? Almost 18 months in. What are you most proud of getting done?
I think the stability of the department. When I first started, I had 82 things that I wanted to complete that I thought
You
would
made a
stabilize the
checklist
department.
of 82
I made
things.
a checklist of 82 things.
Wow.
I don't say me because I have a great team. We finished the last one about 2 weeks ago with the patrol structure. So it basically solidified the department. I have more people on patrol. We changed the way that we recruit. We just changed the way that we operate. And, trying to get better equipment, trying to get better technology. I worry about the morale of the police department. I want to make sure the officers are getting what they need to do the job.
One word answer. Is Lafayette a safe city?
Absolutely.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, and apparently, let's not give Rachel a gun either. Please help me to welcome to the stage for tonight's conversation Al Patin, Lafayette Police Chief Paul Truard, and Lafayette Mayor President Monique Boulay.
Good evening. Well, Chief, I appreciate you accepting the invitation. You weren't quite sure what this was going to be about, but I enjoyed getting to know you better.
You're welcome. I really had a choice.
Well, listen, I've prepared some some questions for the both of you, but I want to start with Chief Truard, specifically tied to what you just ended with, related to stability in your department. So I think I have these numbers correct. When you first stepped into this role, the department was down 50 officers. Today, we're seeing 2 applicants for every position and 43 new patrol officers on the street. What are you and your team doing within the culture of the department to ensure you retain those 43 new employees?
Well, first it starts off with hiring the new employees, so we had to change the way that we recruit. So there's two phases. You have to recruit, fill up your stats, and you have to figure out a way to retain your people. You retain your people by providing a stable environment, and you'll see officers in the audience today. Things have changed over the last year. We've got better equipment coming in. We changed policy, we changed procedure. We just changed the way that we operate. You know, everybody wants to go out and do their job and have the best equipment possible. I mean, that's not always we do not always have the ability to do that, but you give them what they need to do the job, you make their job easier, and they're gonna stay. And of course, they're well supported by the police department, by the mayor's office, and they're paid very well. But the first thing we had to address was recruitment. So the way we're recruiting was we expected people to come to us, and that's not the way recruitment works. If you wanna recruit to people, you have to go to where they are. So the first thing we did is I went to my recruiter and I said, listen, what are your job duties? What can I take away from you? And we started taking away things like background checks and giving it to internal affairs. Then I told her, you need to get out of this office and you need to go everywhere. We need to start going on Facebook. We need to start putting out QR codes. You need to start going to every festival, every event, getting every person you can in this room. And then we get a large group of people, then we gotta be picky on who we retain. And you saw in the video, you know, we have 8 people that graduated the academy. I'm only keeping 3. Most of them dropped by their own request. We're only gonna put the best people on the roadway. Now those 8 recruits came from probably 100 applications. So from 100 all the way down to 8 to keeping 3. That's why the training period takes so long, about 8 or 9 months. And the hiring period is usually about a year and a quarter.
You also mentioned when we were connecting, you have some internal recruitment going on within your officers, right? They're wanting to recruit team members that work in a good space and are high performers. They're recruiting on your behalf.
Yeah, the best recruiters in the world are your own officers.
Right.
You know, out there putting on a professional face, people see them and say, man, I want to go do that. Look how professional they are. Then they go and talk to all of their friends and say, you know, hey, Lafayette Police Department's a stable place. You should come and work with us. So all the officers on the roadway, I wish I could just put a recruitment sign on every officer's door with a QR code, but they are my best recruiters.
Very good, thank you. So, Mayor President, I'm going to tag on to that, but I'm going to reference something that Troy said, and I think I read this statistic correctly. So, we have had 6 different chiefs in 4 years, and I asked the chief about culture, but I think in order to have a good culture, trust is foundational. The approach feels different with you and Chief. Can you explain trust and how important that is to your relationship?
Yes. I think, let me start by saying, I think this process, I wish people could get a peek inside of our team at LCG. You will get this peek, and it is a peek. We have an environment where we have a lot of strong people who have a lot of capacity, working very hard. This relationship, though, is a little bit different in that I believe deep in my heart that is a critical relationship. The safety of this community is one of my top priorities. It has to be. It has to be for our businesses to thrive, for our people to feel safe, for our parents to send their kids to school. We have to have a safe environment. So this relationship right here has to be solid. Getting to know Paul, having him as interim was a gift for me in a way that I got to know him before I had to make a final decision. And we went through some really tough things. Last year, we lost an officer. Boy, I did not expect that my first year. But it is one of the most difficult things for a department to go through and for a city to go through. Having him at the helm is something I am so grateful for. Not only did I get to see his leadership in those tough times, and I will tell you that family, we were with that family together a month ago in DC for National Police Week. That family is still a part of the department. 5 beautiful kids lost a father, and we lost a tremendous officer. But having a chief lead us through that, setting the right tone, keeping people on task, you know, it's tough for officers. So what we went through last year really gave us an opportunity. Now, in the video, you asked him if he had a review, and maybe he didn't have a technical review, but he had an interview process where he had to really stand up and compete in choosing a permanent chief, and he did. I knew he was coming in strong, and some people said, why don't you just name him? And I felt like this community needed a good selection process, a good, healthy and we had 4 tremendous candidates. Each one of them could have gotten this job. But what it gave Chief a chance to do, and we laugh, because I call him Paul. We have a good relationship. I need to call him Chief in public, though. Was show up and show what he has, what he does. He came in with his plan. He walked through the whole thing. He really impressed everybody. And we had a group of community leaders and public safety leaders. And so it wasn't just me. So he did kind of go through a review and really did shine. And so he's quiet and humble. You know, when I talk about the stats going down, our stats are really down. He says, don't, you know, stats can be trendy. And I'm like, don't you think 40 new officers? Don't you think more patrol? Don't you think what you're doing is making a dent in that? And he's like, okay, all right, fine. You can say it. I'm like, well, it's true. So
It sounds
yeah.
like you're confident in his expertise.
I am. And when we're faced with challenges, we walk through them, you know, and challenge each other. And I might ask him, what about this? I'm not an expert. So if he comes back with, well, this is how it's done, I have full respect for that, but he also has respect for how can we do it better? And we're constantly asking that question. And so it's a good back and forth that exists here. And I think we are a better community because of that.
Very good, thank you. So Chief Truord, we're going to talk about Senate Bill 142. You guys celebrated it on your account today. We saw that as a win for LCG, making police leadership merit and performance-based. What our team here may not recognize is you testified at the Capitol in support of a new civil structure that allows you to appoint your 3 majors directly, if I have that correct. 1, why is that important to you? And 2, how can you let us feel comfortable with what you're putting in place to ensure that appointees and appointments are based on merit and maintain public trust?
That's a great question, thank you. Yeah, the bill was signed on the 11th by the governor. It'll go effective on July the 1st. So currently, the top 3 majors run 3 divisions. They run 1/3 of the police department. They are my top executives under the chief of police. In order to become a major, all you need right now, or previously, was tenure. If you're there the longest, you pass a test, ready or not, you can be major. So what does that make at the top? It gives you a weak top. Because some majors are fully capable, fully confident. Some majors are coming in for their last years on drop, just spending the time trying to get the money and just quietly quit. So that means I have to go do their job. So what I wanted to change, and this started off from the very beginning, and it was supported by the mayor and the mayor's office, once I explained to them that I'm looking for competency over tenure. Right now, 1% of the police department can apply for major. I have 301 officers, 1% can apply. There's only 2 people that are on the test that I get to pick from. How ridiculous is that for a department that big? So what this does is this allows everybody, sergeant and above, to be able to apply for the position of major. So going from 2 people to pick from, 1 person that I have to pick on tenure, that's going to give me 50 to 60 applicants throughout the ranks to come and apply, take the test, and they're reevaluated every year. So just because you get that position doesn't mean you get to hold it. You have to do the job. And we're going to do a fair and competent evaluation of each person that applies for the next major spot. I probably don't have one coming open now for another year or 2. And base it on talent, base it on education, you know, base it on experience, not just tenure. Once again, competency over tenure. And that's how you strengthen a police department. You put the competent people at the top.
Very good. Thank you for advocating. I heard you did a great job. Not necessarily what you always want to do, but you did it.
Was that your first step into Baton Rouge?
That was, and it was a trial by fire. I got to go on both the House side and the Senate side and testify.
Very good. We're going to stick with you because I know both you and Mayor President have been intentionally connecting in different community spaces, specifically about a safe city and what you guys are bringing to the table and improving. So since stepping into your role, what kind of community feedback, whether positive or critical, has surprised you or offered a new perspective on the department's work?
I've had mostly positive. I think the community craves communication from their police department. Every time that I've gone out and talked to people, they thank me for coming. I mean, my job is to go out and tell you what my police department is doing. Not only that, listening to what they're telling me. I tell people all the time, public safety is not just for the police department. We cannot do it alone. We are in a relationship together. I need you to communicate to me, us communicate to you, and let's work out root cause problems together. It's not just my job, it's our job. So we started the community engagement group, which you saw in the video with the lieutenants, and they're what I call, what do you do after 911? And let me explain that. If you call 911, one of the officers you see in the audience is going to come and they're going to respond. They're going to take your report. They're going to act professional. If there's investigative leads, they're going to send it up to detectives, and then they're finished with you. Well, what if you keep having issues in your neighborhood? Well, my patrol officers are rotating. You might not get the same patrol officer all the time. So how do you fix a root cause problem? Well, you call your precinct lieutenant. Your precinct lieutenant is your interface between the public and the department. You can call them up and say, hey, I know it's not your business, but this house always has grass and people loitering. Can you help me? Where they're not only going to call the police department, they're going to start calling the city and their friends in the city and start working together to solve your problems. So without the community engagement, we wouldn't be near as effective.
Al, I'd like to add, you know, we put together a bus trip maybe 6 months ago, cross-departmental, and went and looked at some of our most blighted areas and properties. On the bus with us was PD and the fire department. At each stop, how many calls has this facility gotten in a year? Some 300, 400, 500 calls in a year. That's a lot of calls. You know, so working with community development, working across the board. The bus was full from Public Works, all of it. We're looking at all of the problems. One of the other areas that we've talked about. So it's cross-departmental, and PD is a critical voice in a lot of our conversations. Holy Rosary, we're looking at putting the library there. We've already started looking at what are the crime stats around there? Where are the problem areas? The neighborhood is fairly safe. I was surprised. He told me we don't really get calls in Macomb Vise. But we're looking at that, and there are some problem areas. And so how do we start talking to those property owners? How do we address it differently? So PD is not just about policing, but it is about community development. It is about blight. It is about those issues that we all want to see addressed intrinsically. And so having this kind of partner in those conversations is something you don't see, but I also believe is critical.
Staying on that topic, I'm certain by precinct you got different feedback, right, based off of maybe location. Was there a common thread throughout your connections that was either positive or negative that you heard across the board? Was there something consistent that you heard across the board that wasn't specific to an area?
Obviously in the city, traffic, and when I say that, everybody shakes their head, traffic in the city of Lafayette. That's why we've changed a bunch of our traffic initiatives. Also drugs, people don't realize that we call this the cocaine corridor because you're on I-10 and I-49. So you got people, you got the drugs coming in from Mexico going through Lafayette, then you got the money coming back from Florida going back the opposite way west. So what I started doing that I got a lot of feedback from is we started not nickel and diming looking for the little stuff on the street, but started looking for the big stuff. If you keep guns and you keep drugs from coming into the city of Lafayette, like I always tell the mayor, it's going to get quiet. And I've got a lot of feedback about that. You'll see on the news we put stuff out, and I got a lot of people that call me and say thank you very much. Car burglaries, get a lot of feedback in reference to car burglaries. And I'll tell you this, and I'll tell it all day long, 95% of our car burglaries, guess what they are? They're unlocked. They're unlocked. If people would lock their cars, it would save me a lot of trouble. But all the feedback that I've got really has been positive. I mean, people want to come in and complain about crime. We listen to them. We try our best to address everything in their area and listen.
We're going to switch gears. So what the audience may not realize is we sent out the ability for anyone to submit a question ahead of time. And we have one from Jennifer. Jennifer's a Lafayette community member, and this is for Mayor President. I'm concerned about pedestrian and bicycle safety in Lafayette. I recently witnessed a hit-and-run accident that left an elderly pedestrian in the hospital. I also met a young man who had been hit by a car on his bicycle, and I frequently see pedestrians on Johnson Street or in other parts of town walking on the side of the road wearing dark clothes with no reflective material. Yesterday, I saw a bicyclist riding in the dark on South City Parkway with no reflectors on the back of his bike. Can you speak about pedestrian and bicyclist safety in Lafayette?
Yes. So do we have a walkable community? I think today the answer is no. I would not recommend you walk on Johnson Street, although we have a little bitty lane there for you. But it is something we want and is something we need. And I think those of us who would like to be out and engaged more on foot want it. Those of us who don't have a vehicle need it. You look at the University Avenue Corridor project, that is a safety project. So many times when you were driving, we will have a median down University, and I always say people are gonna fuss for a few weeks after it's finished because you're gonna have to learn how to drive differently on University. But if you're driving there at midnight and you see a pedestrian in the turning lane, you're not expecting a pedestrian at midnight in the turning lane. And so we have these accidents, right? And so the median will go up, the new sidewalks are there, we have a place for the pedestrians, we're making it uncomfortable in the middle of the road. Those kinds of road projects are important. But then also the pathways, the shared paths. And that's what you're gonna see. Bertrand, we got the transfer confirmed by the council a few weeks ago, and should go to construction by the end of the year, if not in the first quarter of this year. But what you'll see there is a connection between Moncus Park and Cajun Field with a 12-foot tree-lined sidewalk, a shared path. And I say, I want to see baby strollers to bicycles. I want everybody out. And so it's going to be big and wide, and we're really going to work on the intersections, going to Cajun Field and going to Moncus Park. Right now, we have the MPO doing an analysis of every intersection on Johnson from I-10 to Ambassador. It's a safety analysis. What are our stats? We have DOTD, sitting there. They have safety money that's hard to spend because you have to fit in their little criteria. But those intersections that fit, we're going to start making those safety modifications now. It is a big lift to make a community walkable, but we have a lot of good projects in place now. I will say that. I've talked about Houston. My daughter lives on the trail in Houston. It's 10-foot. 168 miles that connect. You can go from Kingwood to downtown, all over Houston. How do we create that environment here is a goal we're looking at. And we do have a lot of good sidewalk projects that have small gaps. We're looking at filling the gaps, putting the plans in place to fill the gaps now. And don't know the mileage in that initial run, but then building it out. So it's an infrastructure investment to make a safe, walkable community. I hear it when people say it's not safe and we have accidents, and yes.
That is a common feedback for you.
It is. People want it to be walkable. We're there. We are there as far as wanting it. It's a matter of where is it gonna be, and we're mapping all that out now. We're doing a lot of preliminary work on Johnson Street. We do expect to go public with that and have public meetings, get public feedback. We can come back here, but I want people to see it all along the way so that as we design it, as we plan it, it makes sense. Often people have feedback that is very helpful, so we want to open that process up. Right now we're doing a kind of an inventory, which you would go through as far as right away. LUS is, I will say this, LUS, you'll see it, I know it's in our budget book, I don't know if we've announced it. We've put a development person in LUS to sit in development meetings so that LUS, it's one of our greatest assets, but becomes more engaged in development.
Okay.
So I know that's a kind of a different subject I could talk for a long time on, but let's go back to public safety.
Two easy follow-up questions on that. One, you mentioned University and Boulevard. Any timing on that you can share?
The construction should be finished within the year.
Okay, very good. And then, just curious, you mentioned your Johnson Street intersection safety survey that's going to be happening. What are you anticipating it to come back with? Any particular intersections that you're most concerned about?
All of them. I would like it walkable throughout. I'll say that. The first phase will probably be from Blackham Coliseum to Moncus Park or Duce, because there's money already allocated there with DOTD, and it's all safety money. So they will come in and help us pay. We do have some local money as well to add into that. We're looking at the downtown area for drainage. There's seems to be some opportunity. I think I have a meeting this week to get that first initial technical vetting back on can it really be a viable option for downtown and Freetown? It may be. There's no conveyance under Johnson Street right there. We're looking at the Holy Rosary area, and then we put a grant application in from Duce to Camellia, I think. So it's gonna depend on where the funding falls. We are having our bond attorneys and finance advisors doing an analysis of all of the different funding mechanisms that could come into play. So we will have a good document to work
There's
from.
some traction. Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, Chief. So I tried that vest on. It was heavy. It was really heavy. But I do want, a lot of times we'll hear things like funding for technology, funding for equipment, maybe not in this area. However, we know it's important to a police force. So how is technology shaping the way Lafayette Police Department approaches crime prevention? How important is that to you?
I would have to say that technology is a top priority. From the days when I came on in '97 and you had a tablet basically taped to your leg, trying to figure out addresses and pulling out map books. Now our officers are rolling around in an information center. Everything in their car, they can pull up the cameras around the city. They can pull up your license plate information. They can pull up just about everything they need sitting on their computer in their car. You saw the cameras on the officers, the cameras on the tasers, all the different stuff, but realize that we also have cameras around the city. Now, let me distinguish between my cameras and other people's cameras. When you see a pole with 15 cameras on it, that is not Lafayette Consolidated Government. My cameras are going to have a dome, it's going to have a blue light on it, it has 4 cameras in it, it's going to be discreetly put. But those cameras are live and can be accessed by every officer in the city. They can be accessed by every officer on their cell phone if they need it. And to tell you how effective these cameras are, they are quite expensive, but back in the day when I worked homicide, the first thing that I did was go to the scene and start talking to people, knocking on doors, doing canvases for day and day on end. That's not what they do nowadays. They send one person to the scene, they send crime scene to the scene, they all run back to the office and get on the cameras, and you would not believe how effective that those cameras are. We've also changed some of our programming for detectives, some of their research tools. We're starting a drone program. I have about 3 or 4 drones on the street, but hopefully by the middle of next year, every patrol shift will have a drone. If they get in a foot pursuit, they're looking for a missing person, they can put a drone up. You have to stay on the cutting edge of technology or you're going to fall behind. So I would say that that's one of my top priorities. And so far in Capitol, it's been well funded because it's well needed.
We talked about the body camera, right? And I think I recall you're not intimidated by it. You actually look at it as a proactive approach for your officers as well as incident control. Is that accurate?
Yeah, when they first came out with body cameras, everybody thought that the officers were going to hate it. And I will tell you right now that 95% of them love it. It not only protects the community from us doing something wrong, it also protects the officers for somebody coming and falsely accusing them. And every public contact from the time that they speak to you to the time that they leave you, every camera is on their person. So as you saw in the video, if Cody up there turned his camera on, my camera's going to activate. If he pulls out his taser, my camera's going to activate. We've ordered devices to put on our holsters, so if our gun comes out, our camera activates. If I'm driving in the area of him and he's running code, my camera in my car and my camera on my body will activate. So I think it's an absolute bonus. Not to mention evidence in court. It's hard to dispute, hey, officer, what happened at the scene? Well, let's just press play.
And I'll say, from my perspective, because I'll get the call, you know, there was an officer who did, you know, A, B, C, and D, and I'll call chief, and he'll say, give me a minute. And then he'll call me back. We did everything we were supposed to do. I can show it to you. I'll be there in 30 minutes. And he shows up, and I'll look at it, and he's right. And so it does protect our officers as much as our citizens, because a camera doesn't lie. And so, you know, there was an incident where people were upset because the officer punched somebody, but he was in a situation where it was that or pull a gun. So do you want him to use his fist? That's the easiest tool, I guess the most gentle tool out of the toolbox he has. And the guy was, you know, maneuvering against him, and I think he punched his arm. And so when you see it on camera, you're like, oh, actually he made the best decision he could have made in that situation. So those cameras, they help me, the non-professional in criminal justice, really do have trust in our department that we are doing what we are supposed to be doing. And if something is not right, he fixes it. But we haven't really, no, I know, well, I'm done.
Don't jinx it.
I'm done.
But I will tie into what you just mentioned. You know, priority of safety for your officers and for the community, and I want to lean into what many of us experience. Myself working in healthcare, right? We know the statistics of the mental health crisis, not only in America but certainly in our community. How are you and your department preparing officers to respond effectively but compassionately to individuals experiencing a mental health crisis? How do you train them to identify what it is, de-escalating those individuals? And then are there specific training programs or partnerships in place to ensure the interaction is handled safely?
Well, I'm going to piggyback this into two categories. Number one is dealing with people with mental health crisis and dealing with the mental health of the police officers. Two different topics, pretty much related. We started last year doing a crisis intervention team and training our officers. We had 2 people in the police department that were trained to go out and help people that were under crisis. Well, that's just not going to do it because they work day shift, 10-hour days, and they weren't around. So every 3 months, we put our officers through crisis intervention training. We're training 25 to 30 at a time. I was trying to train more to have it completed by the end of this year, but you can only take so many people off the road. It is a 2 to 3 day certification program, and then we put that into in-service to learn how to de-escalate instead of escalate, and learn that arrest isn't always the solution. You know, if these people are in mental crisis, they need something. If I put them in jail, they're going to bond out, and they're still going to be on the street with a mental issue. So secondly is the officers themselves. That has been a trending thing in law enforcement for the last 2 or 3 years, was the mental health of the officers. You just do not realize what these officers see on a day-to-day basis. So my recruiter, who just happens to be working on her PhD in psychology, I asked her to put together a program, a peer-to-peer program. So we started about a year ago, got the paperwork done, got the general order in, and she's been training a group of people that can go and talk to officers, because an officer is not going to talk to anybody else. Let's be honest with it. He's not going to go talk to a psychologist. He's not going to go talk to a psychotherapist. He needs to talk to somebody that understands his job. So at the end of this month, we're going to graduate 18 train-the-trainers in peer-to-peer, and then they're going to go out and train other officers to do the same. Just to give you an example, we had an officer that had a person that wanted to commit suicide, and he was on the bridge on Ambassador Caffrey in the tracks. He was standing on the bridge prepared to jump. The officer's talking to him, trying to get him to come down. Well, finally, when everything went to pot, the officer went and grabbed the guy. Well, for 30 seconds, they were teetering. So think about what that officer thought when he pulled him back. Obviously, he was having some issues. So we sent one of the peer-to-peer people just to go talk to him the next day to make sure that he was okay and let him work his issues out. Because for 30 seconds, he didn't know if he was going to live or die. So both dealing with people in the public and dealing with people within the department. You want to talk about retention? That's also how we retain people, because we don't want to lose them because they feel like there's no help.
In certain incidents, is there an automatic referral to the peer-to-peer?
I can order people into peer-to-peer, but usually it's better if we go give them a gentle nudge or just send somebody to talk to them. We can send a peer on shift to start running calls with them and just take care of them and go talk to them. You don't want to force them into it, but their supervisors can call in and say, hey, this person apparently is having some issues with this incident. We need to go out, we need to meet with them, and we need to talk to them. Now, during a critical incident, there's a critical incident debrief. We bring everybody in one room. They have some people in there to talk to them. We put them in a private sector. So some of them are quasi-mandated, but everybody always shows up.
And I'll add, the officers in our department care about each other. It is something that I didn't necessarily think about or expect, but has been very impressive. They're very protective of each other, and they care about each other, that their families, their health, their stability. It's a really strong relationship to see throughout a department.
I will say, just from experience, in the little time that I was with the chief, you know, having a team of 300 people, we came across 20 to 25 different officers in different locations, and he did know them all by name, which is always impressive. So there is definitely a team environment that I was able to experience.
You have to remember, he came up, he's been in the department for how many years?
I'm working on my 29th year.
He's been in just about every department, and really a leader in a lot of those departments. So he's trained many of them. He comes in with a strong credibility from within the department.
Good work.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to switch a little bit to collaboration and systematic improvements, right? So, Mayor President, this question's for you. We know you have been working on identifying funding for a new jail. We're just going to ask the question. Are there any updates regarding the progress of this plan?
Sure. So it comes down to funding. I think there's a general consensus that it would be nice to have a new jail, to move it out of downtown, to clear that out, to develop downtown out. Also, the jail is bad. I've been in it. I've toured it. I've been in the middle of the pods where you can see all the inmates. I'm not crazy about it. It's an old building, and I don't think it's a healthy space to house people. Let me say that. It's an expensive investment. The parish does not have that kind of funding, so we have to partner. We'll have to partner with the state. From the state, we'll probably need around $100 million. So we've met with the sheriff, and I together have met with the governor several times on this. And the governor is very interested in helping us accomplish that. The reality of the funding, like capital outlay, they have $150 million for local governments across the entire state. So you think capital outlay, but not really. They can't give us 100 of that money. And so we have to get really creative. We had $17 million for the jail earmarked in capital outlay, and it has, the other project happening simultaneously is the administration building. So the sheriff is located downtown with a lot of his administration. And so part of the, I guess, overall plan is to move the administration to the Willow campus as well. That piece, I think, will happen first. So that money has been moved over to that piece. That does relieve some of the space downtown, but it delays the jail a little bit. He and I have spoken, Sheriff Garber and I have spoken. As this building gets going, the next priority that we will stand together on is the jail. We do need that jail, but we have to kind of play the game a little bit from a funding perspective, and we will.
So dollars are the issue, but it sounds like after the current plan for the administrative building will take place, you guys are going to stand together and focus on jail financing.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you for that. So I'm going to stick with you, and I'm going to ask you a very simple question. What does a safe city look like to you? And is Lafayette, I didn't ask you that question. Is Lafayette a safe city?
I think it's safe. It's when it's not in your face all the time, right? When I came into office, I will tell you, we had a lot of complex situations that I was having to deal with that I didn't really expect. And you know, the question of showing the video publicly or not, I always want to see the video. If there's the slightest controversy somebody thinks has happened, I'm going to go look at it. But I'm also going to try to help a family if there's a family involved. I don't want to say it, but it's calmed down. I don't want to say it. I don't get the calls anymore. I'm sure I'll get one soon. I don't get a lot.
It does feel stable. It does feel stable.
It feels stable. And to me, and I know what's going on behind the scenes, so I know why. There's a lot of reasons why. There's a lot of accountability that's been built into the department that you don't see. If an officer does do something, he's pulled off the street until it's cleared up, until there's confidence. You know, they also have been out in those neighborhood meetings, in the toughest neighborhoods in town, really building the relationships, answering the questions. It was funny because we were in a meeting, which coterie was it? It was Oasis, and it was a pretty tense meeting. It went on for 2 hours. And finally, one of the older ladies said, and the kids who have their pants down, can you fix that? And Francis Touchette was in the meeting. I was like, can we give that? I went to the school board. But being out in that community, answering the questions, understanding what the concerns are, what's happening, building the relationships, having those points, all of those things, those little things that that Chief is doing has created a stability that was not here a year and a half ago. I can clearly say that. So when you say, do we have a safe city? Yes. Could something happen tomorrow? Do we have car burglaries in Bendel? Actually, not a lot lately. We used to have them all the time, but we'll have them again. We have teenagers that run through the neighborhood.
We have the infrastructure to continue working on making us a safer city.
Yes, and the technology, he's right. The technology is there. The cameras, people have cameras in their homes. I mean, you know, having the leadership in the department and the officers that are willing to go out and piece those things together, it really helps. So yeah, that's a question. Yes, I'm gonna answer yes, but it takes work every single day. And so could something happen tomorrow? Yes. I don't want neither one of us want to act like it's perfect. But there's a stability we didn't have before. I can say that confidently.
Okay, thank you. We're going to end with one question, with an opportunity to open it up for questions from the audience. But this question is for both of you. I work in healthcare. One of the things that we often get presented when we are recruiting physicians, they ask two questions outside of all the pay and everything else that goes on in an interview. How are the schools, and what does crime look like? So in order to leave this team that came to listen to us tonight with one or two messages for those types of visits that we get, what message do you want Lafayette residents, as well as anyone coming to our community to visit and thinking about making Lafayette their home, to take away about the direction and values of our police department under your leadership? Give us an elevator, one or two bullets.
I can give you one quick bullet. We have a professional, highly trained, collaborative police department that will work with anybody in the area to make our public and our areas safe.
Okay. And you're seeing crime statistics continue drop.
The more that we collaborate, the more the statistics drop. And not only that, more officers that are proactive instead of reactive.
And you've hired 43 new officers, and in 1 year you will have retained them.
And I'm sorry, in 1 year what?
1 year you will have kept them.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, okay. I'm giving you some bullets for later.
Thank you.
Mayor President?
So I'm going to invite them to come to the festival. You know, one of the comments I got back from one of the leaders in the downtown area, I got a text Sunday evening as festival was closing, thanking me because it felt safe. We had, you know, we were hosting close to 400,000 people on the heels of the incident in New Orleans. And so we had a command center together for the first time. We had the FBI with PD, with the sheriff, with the fire. All of our first responders were off-site at a command center watching cameras on every corner throughout the entire event. And we had officers. How many officers did we have on the street?
We had between 80 and 150 during shift change, so we were averaging about 80, 85 officers, and that's a collaboration with the state police, the sheriff's department. I had bomb dogs from other areas. We had a fire marshal out there.
Snipers.
We had just a collaboration of 5 or 6 different law enforcement agencies.
But what came back to me that night was, and they were all smiling and friendly and welcoming people. We felt safe. We felt happy. It was part of the spirit of the festival. And I mean, it was a powerful text for me because we were leading up to that, preparing, meeting, going through every possible scenario. I think at Mardi Gras, we lost a child and the FBI facial recognition found the child. So, I mean, there were situations we were ready for, and then some I mean, nobody expected that in New Orleans, right? So some you can't prepare for. But we were as prepared as we could be, and friendly and smiling and creating a community and a festival. And if you didn't come, I wish you would have. It was so magical. It started with the flood. Wouldn't have wanted that either. But the volunteerism that started that morning, that Thursday morning, that spirit lasted throughout the festival, and our officers were part of it. And I think it showed what's happening in our community. So I would invite them to festival, just as you would, right?
I would absolutely. We love getting those visits at festival time. So congratulations. You are done with my questions. Okay. You did great.
Thank you.
So we do.
No, I'm going to save them.
Okay.
They have both agreed to stick around for a little while in the lobby to answer questions for folks. So we're not going to let people put you on the spot right here. Thank you for offering to stay around a little while afterwards. They will be in the lobby from till about 7:30. And if you could talk them into staying longer, feel free to try, but just recognize their time is valuable as well. So we greatly appreciate it. Mayor President, thank you so much for your leadership and for your commitment to making this community as safe as it possibly can be. Chief Gerard, thank you. It's an honor to have you here. It's an honor to have you in this position within our community. And Al, as always, thank you for your leadership and for facilitating this conversation. We greatly appreciate that. Also want to make sure we thank again our sponsor, Wiley. Thank you so much for everything you do, and appreciate you guys being a major sponsor of this event. Thank again Acadiana Advocate for their partnership in this, and also the Acadiana Center for the Arts. Thank you all for being here, and we hope to see you again at another CivicCon event in the near future. Thank you. Hope everyone has a great night.